In today's video, I am going to be breaking down how you can scale up a basketball play. So, for example, you can start with a very basic basketball play for, let's say, a very young basketball team. And then while they're getting older, you can scale it up. You can add different options to that same exact play. You can also do this with teams during the season, where you can start with a very basic option and then you can build upon it and add different options after. So let's get down, let's check this out and see what I'm really talking about. Really quickly, if you coach a high school basketball team, make sure to go check out my Horns basketball playbook for high school teams that are down in the description below. And also make sure to go check out my Unbeatable basketball zone defense book, because that's a killer defense. Go check that out down in the description below as well. And if you like this app where I can draw on it, it's called Playbook, and that is also down in the description too. Okay, so let's really start with the Horns offense. That's when you've got two players on the elbow and players down in the corner. You can start with a very simple play, where these two players go up and set the screen for player one, and he has the option to go left or right. Let's say, for example, he goes to the right side. That means that he is using player 4 as a screen, so player 4 is going to roll to the basket. Meanwhile, player 5 is going to pop out as a secondary option for player 1 to pass to. So at this point, player 1 could attack the rim, he could pull for the shot, he could also pass to player 4, he could also pass to player 5 for the three-point shot. Now, that's all well and good, but let's say you really want to have extra options. Let's say players are a little bit older or a little bit more advanced, and they can add in a secondary option to the same exact play. Well, now, let's say neither of these options are open. Well, now player 4 can go to this low post on the opposite side, and player 1 can go in for a dribble handoff with player 3. Player 3 gets that ball, player 1 can roll to the basket. Obviously, if player 1 is open, he could get that ball back, but at the exact same time, we're going to have player 4, and if player 1 was not open, player 1 setting a screen for player 2. Obviously, if player 2 is open, that is another option. Now we're going to go more into the flex option, where now player 3 can pass to player 4 potentially after player 5 sets that pin down screen on player 4. And then we could even have player 5 clear out. And again, player 1 screens for 2. And then player 3 screens for player 1, and we can continue this same exact offense over and over again with the exact same thing happening. Player 3 clears, player 5 uses 2 as a screen, player 4 sets the pin down, and player 2 sprints up. And we can continue to run this through and eventually get a player open. But then again, if you have a shot clock, you're not going to be able to run those over and over and over again. So you're probably only going to be able to do that last option once all the way through. So this simple play is fantastic for players and teams that are like grade 1 to like grade 8. Obviously, you can run this play with older teams, but generally speaking, it's easy enough to teach to those age groups. And yes, I understand if you are from Europe, you are probably not allowed to use screens under a certain age group, I think under 14 years old. This would be option number 1, where there's that double screen. Let's say player 5 is the one who rolled, and player 4 is the one who popped. Now, going from there, option number 2. Option 2 would be player 1 and 3 coming together for that dribble handoff. Player 5 going to the opposite post, because now in this secondary option, we could hit player 1 with the pass, and if player 5's man comes over to help, his defender this would be a dump down pass and an easy layup. And of course, if teams actually taught defense the way they should, if player 1 got that ball, player 5 would come over to help, player 2 would drop to help. If there was a dump down pass, this would be 5 guarding 2, which is a mismatch, but if he couldn't score, he could kick it out for a wide open 3. Option 2 is one of those options where I would probably say it would be good for roughly a very advanced grade 4 team, and up to about high school. That would be kind of where I would be looking at. Generally speaking, around grade 8 would be a good time to be able to teach. Maybe grade 7 would be a good time to teach option number 2. Option 3 would be more for high school, having player 2 cut across, and then having player 4 pop down for that pin down screen for player 5. This would be more for high school. But it's not just about age groups either. So many coaches get into these long drawn up plays and say, this is option 1, this is option 2, this is option 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, then they teach it all at once. And it makes players confused. Because what the coaches will say is, I want you to practice running this through all the way through to the last option. Well, what happens? Well, in game, they want to hit option number 1 because they have no patience. But in practice, they never learn all the way through. Because guess what? They're going straight to the end and they're not scoring on option 3. They're going all the way through and not scoring on option 2. They'll score on option 1 because that's the first thing you teach. But they'll never, when it comes to in game, they'll very rarely score on option 2. Very rarely score on option 3. Very rarely score on option 4, or whatever it may be, until the last option. And they'll go all the way through and hit the last option. There may be 5 open players. No, they won't. They'll just hit that last option. So if that happens to you, that's what I would suggest is teach option 1, leave it for 2 or 3 practices, teach option 2. Run it for 2 or 3 practices, option number 3. That way, they're learning to score at each level, at each option. And then it's going to be much easier to be able to score during game. You can check out the 5-out offense too, but a really good example of this would be like a pass and cut. With a pass and cut, it becomes really robotic. And just teams run through the exact same motion over and over and over again. Pass, cut, fill, 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 fill. And they go through the exact same options. Meanwhile, there's like these guys not caring about anything other than I need to get that ball back because I want to score. So what we can do, instead of just saying pass and cut and blah, 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 is sure, we can teach pass and cut. But now, let's say I pass and I cut. Well, player 3 passed to the right side. Why can't we set a pin down screen for player 4 so that now, well, hey, we have player 3 cutting, player 4 filling the top. Well, now maybe we can hit this guy back because player 1 can still continue that to set that screen. We can set that again, that pass over to the wing. Now we have another cutter. Player 1 gets out, another cutter. So by the time we make that swing, player 3 could have taken that 3-point shot, but now player 5 might be an option. Now if player 4 delays himself just a little bit, and now he cuts as a secondary option, but now let's say player 2 hasn't been doing anything for a while, player 5 can fill. Now this is a very advanced option, but this is a heck of a lot better than just standing around doing nothing. I hope that this all makes sense, so make sure to go check out the Horns playbook that is down in the description below. The complete guide to the 5-out offense is also down there as well. But also, make sure to go check out my Unbeatable Basketball Zone Defense book. It's a killer defense that shuts down everything, so definitely go check that out. It is down in the description below. I'll see you guys again in my next video.